What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets-Haber. We are going to be talking through Tuesday's NBA slate. We do have to do a little recap of the golf because it's pretty rare that you get two of our guys in the top five for $1 million. And you know, Sheets and I have a different approach on these things. I always tend to be a little. I get greedy once I get close. I want to, especially when the prize differences are so different. And I was sitting there in second place for the last 9 holes, basically. Second to seventh was the worst fell back to, and really had about 150 opportunities. Also could have used certain guys who Sheets had, like Dustin Johnson not shooting 9 under and eagling, holding out from 120 yards on 18 or whatever it was. Which launched everybody past me. So I ended up 5th, but it actually felt okay because we both, Sheets finished 2nd, and it was quite a run. We had some real sweat there on a Sunday, which is all you can ask for.
And it wasn't even Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. On a Monday. It was wild. It was absolutely wild. And I'm happy that I had a really good week overall for golf. I'm still waiting for the really big one, but Sheets, great job. And that was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, that was fun. And that was, by the way, if I were around again, I didn't even see the end. I had to go out to basketball practice. But if I were around, that would have, by the way, been the perfect opportunity to do like the live sweat.
Well, we kind of did, just so you know, because I was doing the basketball show.
Oh, right.
So I jumped on, but I could only stay on for like 20 minutes, and I couldn't keep my head straight.
Right.
But I was watching all these, and I actually even said, well, DJ knocked it in the background while I was on the air, and I was like, oh my God, that's gonna probably kill me. And Sheets might win it though. Like,
for me, it was the opposite of Bobby's experience. So for me, it was the same as. I remember a couple of weeks ago, I got like 2nd or 3rd in this thing for like, not in this one, but like I cashed for like 50 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it was the same type of deal. Like I went into the day at like in 3rd place, but with no chance. You know, you never think you have a chance. And then like within like 3 holes, I'm like in like 100th. And then I was literally in 400th place when Bobby was in 2nd. Okay, with like 12 holes to go. So I was in full root for Bobby mode. You know, we had 3 of the 6 line guys the same. And we basically had a 3 versus 3. Like he had Kazire, Fleetwood, and Hovland, and I had Hatton, Varner, and DJ. So those are the 3 battling. But I didn't really think it was a battle because he was literally in 2nd or 3rd with more holes than everybody else in the top 10, right? And I was like in 300th or whatever. But then like slowly but surely, like literally in the back 9, every one of my guys made a birdie every single hole. Except for DJ, who made a freaking eagle from freaking 100 yards, 80 yards out.
80 yards out, yeah.
Basically breaking the competition course record. And this is the guy who I announced was going to miss the cut. I literally had 2% of him, right? And, yep. and I picked this particular slate to do my first slate ever through 150 lineups. And this lineup that I happened to have got was the only one that was 6 for 6, and it was rated to be the 86th best lineup. So. Not that I want to apologize, but let's just say there's a shitload of variance involved. So I was lucky to even get up to where we were. Fortunately, I was at basketball practice when you could argue. I mean, it depends on when stuff happens, but you could argue that we had a chance to win $1 million in the last hole. But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. That's you know, and you know, the thing is for me, like we've been doing this for a long time. By the way, also I sort of felt like there was going to be like a poetic thing to my lineup. Because Sheets, how many times have I talked about Tommy Fleetwood and Patton Kazire winning all the money? I told everybody along when I first played the golf thing. I said, Tommy Fleetwood, I had this dream that he won me $1 million at a golf tournament, and just, I mean, oh man, it was a lot of fun. It was disappointing in a sense, well, in a lot of senses, but the $1 million, but also the fact that everybody I seem to have ever known from the DFS world, who I haven't talked to even in years, some of them
crazy, right?
Are all tweeting at me, are all DMing me, are all texting me. All my old friends from Michigan, all the old poker guys I played with, everybody seemed to have tabs on this tournament. So,
and then meanwhile, like just to give a shout out, I mean, like the top 5, like the guy who was winning the whole thing was one of the guys I backed for like 7 years in poker before he was even 18. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Before he was even 18, and he ended up, you know, Christian Harder ended up being like one of the most successful poker players ever, and he was winning the millie. So I made a joke that it was like the old 100 rebuys, like battling at the end, you know. And then the guy who won, I don't know who he is, but he had 2 poker cards in his freaking avatar. So who knows? I mean, it was kind of like the OG from poker, like kind of getting there. So
it really felt like it. I kept saying, I was like, I can't have charter beat me. I mean, I had enough of that in poker in my earlier days. Like, I don't need that. I also have another funny story with that one. Nothing bad at all about him, but this is just a funny side note about anyway, I'll tell you about off air sometime. But anyway, so it was a lot of fun, guys. We really appreciate all the support and everybody cheering in. And by the way, it's funny. I just want to make one last point about how things can work in different ways. I know we sort of stress this a lot. Me and Sheets do this very differently.
Yep.
Sheets scripted this lineup.
Yep.
I hand built my lineups. I did factor in waves and tee times, but the problem was with this week, as much as I would say I got it right because I did this, we knew that there was going to be a high variance in weather. We didn't know exactly when and how the winds were going to work for certain situations. So it wasn't like it was a guarantee that all the early guys were going to have as big of an edge as they did. That's one thing. But I also thought that it was interesting just to, looking at the hand building versus the scripting, it's just a different process, and you can have completely different point of views and different ways of doing things. And there's no right or wrong. There's just your way of trying what works for you.
Listen, when we do the golf video, we'll talk about this some more. But if people want to know how I came up, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. I mean, I ran the projections and the models and the same system I used to generate all the projections, right? So I have them up there. Then I did my lineup build preview with Kenny and Bobby, and I manually upgraded everybody that Bobby and Kenny liked. Then I manually upgraded them more based on that last little competition we do. And then I just basically ran 150 into SaberSim using the sliders, and I just loaded. That was it. I mean, that was literally it. So combination of everything. I mean, and plus a lot of luck. That's it.
Yeah, it's just one last thing that's funny about even the whole thing about golf sweats being funny, because I came back at the end of Saturday afternoon. I was out in Venice with my girlfriend, and I just was like, I don't even have any 6 of 6s. I just gave up sort of, because all my big buy-ins were 5 of 6 with like the net, and all of them came in like the top 20 of all the big tournaments with the 5 of 6s. But I couldn't quite get. I was like, I don't have anything. I was like, I have this one lineup. Oh, wait a minute, this lineup actually did some things. What's going on? We could do something with this. And when I saw that you were 3rd and I was 50th. I was completely fine with my 50th because I had, when you have guys less.
Well, you had better guys than I did. No offense.
No. Well, I just had the lowest. I mean, you always want the lowest owned guys right in that spot, because then everything you do is just eliminating everyone else. So the Kazire and the Fleetwood combination. Fleetwood, it'd been nice if he didn't shoot even on Monday or whatever. But it was just. It's just
in fairness. I mean, my 3, DJ was 5%, and then Hatton was kind of chalky. He was 12, but what's his name? Varner was literally 0.9%. So
no, you had that's exactly right. You had the low on Varner. I was just saying why I felt good about my. You always got a chance with that. You know what I mean? Your guy goes out and shoots 7 under. And boom, nobody else has that guy, so you don't have to worry about it. There was one moment, I just wanted last one. The one guy when we were 1st and 2nd going, I was in 2nd actually, but the guy who was ahead of me for a while we had the exact same lineup, and he including Kazire and Fleetwood, which is really unhealthy. But he had Henley and I had Casey. So Casey obviously did better than Henley, but Henley had the crazy albatross, which immediately set me on tilt early in the day. So anyway, it was a lot of fun. We'll jump into to some basketball now, because I'm sure some of you guys would rather get to that, but I really do appreciate all the support and all the kind words and everybody who cheers for us. And we're going to get that million soon. It's going to happen. And even if not, you know what, enough 6 figures, enough 5 figures, they add up to a million at some point anyway. So we'll keep it rolling. Sheets, what do you think about this slate? I know, Tyus Jones chalk night, right?
It's a 7. I really do think it's a 7-player slate, a 7-player lineup build.
Yep.
We've just seen this way too often. Tyus Jones at 3,400 is just, I think you just have to play him. I didn't look at his price on FanDuel yet, but I'm pretty sure it's probably similar. So that's where you start. So it's not exactly the greatest GPP lineup, not the greatest GPP slate in the world, especially with four games, but I'm sure we'll come up with something.
Yep, that's sort of what it is. I don't think that there's any that I have to do a bunch of other different things. I never mind playing Tyus he's actually usually been really good in these spots. I do think that, and let's pull up your screen and maybe we'll go through the first game because
Sure.
it does happen to be in the first game. And the one thing I like about these Tuesday slates is, well, one thing, if every night was like this, I could have much more of a life than I do. Although we do have our conference calls and we have great site stuff coming, by the way, guys. And I know I sort of talked a little bit about it in Discord and talked to some of you individually last week, but we're working on site stuff all the time at night. But these kind of slates, it would be kind of fun to have at least a couple times a week because they let you have a life a little bit. You can go out afterwards and not have to worry about light swapping and all that. It's almost like feels like baseball. It's not like I need to sit there by my computer all the time. But this early game, the first one of the night, and you have no reason to wait or anything probably tonight. I think we're just going to go ahead and play who we think are the best plays. But I guess I would ask you first, how are you treating the rest of the Memphis situation? And I guess Indiana too, for that matter, because this feels like a very stackable game, but we just don't know yet who's playing for Indiana.
So the last game Memphis played, I was building, and each time I built, I ended up getting to Dylan Brooks, and I was Xing him out every time because I remember there being a notation that if he was going to play, it was going to be a minutes limit. And it turns out, I bring that up as background because he did play 26 minutes. And so I guess that, let's just see, it was an ankle. They still might take a cautious approach. All right, so I'm looking at his minutes projection. I have him currently projected a pretty healthy 28 minutes. I guess that sounds reasonable, right? So I guess but I don't see a lot of upside on the minute side, right? Especially with guys coming off the injury. So he is actually showing up as a very good points per dollar play, the second best really on the whole slate. But I wonder if maybe this would be the one, if you wanted to pivot off to get a little different for no other reason than what I just said, is that, you always have efficiency upside, but if you don't have minutes upside, it does cap your ceiling a little bit. So maybe even though he's rated as the second best guy, maybe that would be someone to get off of. The other guys in Memphis, dude, I did really well with what's his name the other day. I really never watched this guy play. When Brandon Clark is active and gets the opportunity, then he's
fun to watch, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he gets a lot of rebounds. He's the one that'll fight his own teammate for the rebound. I mean, he gets his rebounds. He'll finish. I like playing him, and he actually rates to be a really good play tonight too. So I like that. Then after that, it's Steven Adams and Desmond Bain and Jared Jackson. I guess all these guys have to be in play. I'm not getting down to De'Anthony Melton as much as I thought I would. So I'd be curious to know what you thought of that. And that's pretty much where I am. Obviously, everything. Well, listen, Morant's got like 1,000% usage rate. When he's out, the rest of the guys are going to be in play. It's the question of how many of them you want to play, I suppose.
Right. I think it's funny that I do think a little bit, like I'm looking at a projection for minutes for him that's basically the same as his normal minutes, which doesn't seem like it makes that much sense. But when you factor in that Dylan Brooks was out the last time this happened, and so was Kyle Anderson.
Oh, okay. But
with those guys out, what happened was we get Steven Adams went like nuts. He was getting like 9 assists a game. Like it was incredible. Dias was obviously really good. And Jaren Jackson Jr. And I don't mind if we want to mix in some of these. So I think that's what you do is that you play at least probably 2 of these guys. But the truth is you don't necessarily need to play 2, but because it's a 4-game slate, I think you probably should be. And I think you can play more than 2. And what I would say is that the 2 that you want to play though, I'm struggling with the Brooks thing too, especially as being the most popular, but I'm okay with it. I actually think Bain is my second favorite play. And I think Adams is probably my third, followed by Brooks. But I'll be mixing all these guys in. And then I would go Jaren Jackson Jr., Kyle Anderson, and then the long shot play of D'Anthony Melton or Clark. I don't see Clark as getting a real boost here, but he always has upside. It's just I don't really see the reason that I need to play him. If I was going to go for the guy, like what if Tyus Jones picks a couple fouls, you might see D'Anthony Melton play 24 minutes. And in 24 minutes or 26 minutes, while he's running the offense, he can put up a big game. So I'm going with it that way, but I will have 2 of these guys in most of my lineups. And I like the idea of playing Melton, if for no other reason than just to get different for a guy with a lot of upside and a lot of different paths to getting there. But I think you could make a similar argument for Kyle Anderson. It's just the Dylan Brooks thing is a tough one for me to figure out. And he's also a guy who can play minutes without doing much and he also can foul himself out of a game in 20 minutes. So there are ways to fade him if he gets too popular, but I do like him. I would go Tyus, Bane, Adams, then him. That's where I'm at.
What do you think of Indiana?
So I think that's going to all depend on who plays. You know, like you have Brogdon questionable, you've got Duarte questionable, you've got Stevenson questionable, you got Patate questionable. If anybody's out, and even if not, I think that Buddy Hield is a strong play. Like I just think that you always want to play these guys. Look, you put Buddy Hield out for whatever 38 minutes like they do every night. Some of these nights he's going to go nuts shooting wise, and even when he doesn't, he always like 5X's. You know what I mean? And on this kind of slate, that's probably okay. So if Brogdon was out, I guess I could consider Halliburton. If Brogdon is in, I think Brogdon is the play. And a little bit though, it hinges on Duarte because I like them, and Stevenson. I like them a little bit even better if those guys are out. Although Stevenson doesn't really get as much run anymore because of all of these guys being back. But if Patate is out, I'm open to any of the starters in the front court because I do think like getting a 3-1 or a 4-1 or a 4-2 in this game makes a lot of sense. I just want to see who's playing for Indiana before I commit.
Yeah, currently, I'm getting an okay number out of Patate. Obviously, only if he plays. I mean, but not great. I haven't 18 minutes. It's not not that great. But like you said, if he's out, then I mean, I'd like to play Jalen Smith, right? Or again, depends who starts. I mean, Taylor, when he plays, he's active. Isaiah Jackson. So I guess we have to keep an eye on that. I mean, I currently don't have too much interest in the Indianas, but as you were saying, just kind of good theory is if you're going to play a bunch of Memphises to run it back with somebody on Indiana.
Yeah, especially if it's the largest total in the slate.
Yeah.
All right. What do you got for me for Brooklyn in Orlando?
Why do I not have that much? I guess is the question. So I'm really not getting that much. I mean, the closest thing I have to plays are like weird value plays, like Drummond, I guess. Doing Brooklyn first. Claxton, I guess, if you don't want to play Drummond, one of them. Then on maybe Bruce Brown. I'm not getting to the spend. I'm not getting to Durant really that much. And then Orlando Suggs and Wagner and I don't know, it's Wagner or Wagner, whatever. They're like okay. Wendell Carter Jr. is just okay. It's kind of overall. It's just I guess Durant's fine. I'm looking at I don't know. Would I rather play maybe Booker? Or maybe I should play them both. I don't know. Would I rather play Booker? Would I rather play Butler? Would I rather play Bam or like two of those as opposed to getting to Durant? I don't know. Maybe just the raw points. Maybe I just need Durant. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm okay with I'm totally fine with Durant. Even I'm fine with Durant. I'm fine with Drummond or Claxton if you want to go that route. I sort of feel like you do about this game. I think that Goran Dragic, you could make an argument for him. I don't really feel all that excited about any of this stuff. I think Wendell Carter is coming into his own. I think I want pieces from Orlando, but it's hard for me to figure out which ones they really are. I mean, with Fultz back, even in playing limited minutes, he really does take up a ton of the usage, which hurts some of these other guards. But I think that you're going to get minutes out of Wagner, good game environment. RJ Hampton is 3,400 and absolutely in play, even though he had one down game last time. I actually think he's a pretty reasonable value here. I guess he's going to have to guard Kyrie, so that's a little bit tricky. But Cole Anthony, I guess Cole Anthony. I guess I'd go Hampton, Wagner, Cole Anthony, Carter, or somewhere. I don't mind switching Carter for Anthony. Either one would be my favorites on Orlando. And then I just have a really hard time with the Brooklyn side, outside of maybe playing, Drummond, Claxton, or Dragic. But I guess we'll figure out if I want to play Durant. I think I have Durant below the other guys I'd rather spend for. But he's still a great play. It's just a matter of does he at 11-1 make as much sense as Booker at 96 against New Orleans. I would rather play Booker at 96 against New Orleans personally.
Kyrie Irving, just so you know, I mean, he's like you said, he's eligible to play today.
Yep.
I think that I don't know. I mean, a 10-2 is rough, but on a 4-game slate, Cole Anthony can't guard him.
Nobody can.
Yeah, but especially a younger guy like that. I don't know.
They'll put Hampton on him, who's actually a pretty good defender.
Okay.
It won't matter anyway.
I don't think so. So yeah, I don't know if you're following. It's a whole shit show here in New York. So he's not allowed to play in the games at home because the vaccine mandate.
Right.
But he can come to the games.
It's the whole it makes no sense.
But not only that, but like they make this huge deal. He makes this huge entrance every time he walks into Barclays with like his whole entourage and like everybody stops and it's completely ridiculous.
It is.
Anyway.
It's so strange. All right, let's talk about Detroit and Miami because this is a game we probably are overlooking on most other slates. But it's a 4-gamer. So Sheets, what are you looking at here?
Here's the thing. I keep getting, when you do points per dollar stuff, I keep getting the guys like Duncan Robinson and PJ Tucker, but I never have. I just always X them out. I just do. I don't know why I keep Xing out Duncan Robinson, but I just keep doing it. But from a points per dollar perspective, those guys look okay. But I think that you should play. I think that both the spend ups are very, very playable here, Butler and Bam on this slate. There's not a lot on this slate,
right?
So I think that both Bam and Butler are really, really in play, and you could get away with a full Bam. I mean, you can get away with it. Bam, Butler, and Cade. You know what I mean? Like from this game, and just hope somehow this game goes above the total. This game stays close and whatever. Because I promise you, this game is going nowhere without Cade having a good game. So maybe Butler and Cade, or Butler, Bam and Cade, or Bam and Cade, or something like that. But if Cade doesn't have a big game, this game is not going to perform. I don't think.
If Cade plays, even.
Well, yeah, I didn't realize he was questionable. So
yeah, that's the other thing is that opens up a whole other can of worms. Like, what do you?
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree. I mean, we're on the same page with sort of the overall slate stuff. I mean, again, this is just, I'm not always going to be right about these things. I don't even know how I ended up doing yesterday because I was a little golf focused. I didn't pay any attention. I eliminated all my NBA lineups. I was like, there's no way, because you know what it is for me? I felt like I was chasing. So if I was, so I didn't do it.
Right.
But tonight I don't know. I have a hard time seeing Detroit keep this game close no matter what. And I still think that one of Bam or Butler will probably be in a good portion of my lineups. Like, instead of playing the KD and somebody, mid tier, where maybe you're a little bit trying to question whether we're comfortable with, don't we just feel good about like a core that starts, on the high end with Booker and whether one of Bam or Butler, especially Bam.
Yep.
So that feels really good to me. And it feels like, it'd be nice to play someone on Detroit as I don't know who that is outside of Cade. So Sadiq Bey, I guess you could make a good argument for. If Cade's out, obviously there's going to open up some value, but I'm not all that excited about any of this stuff. And I will probably just move on to the next one. The one guy who no one will play, and you know what's crazy? So let's talk about this for 1 second, because no one's going to play Marvin Bagley. And if Marvin Bagley was 4,900, he would show up as being one of the better plays in the slate. And I know that's a price difference, but I'll just point out that Bagley, you want to know what he's done since they've given him his, since the little break at his new role? 32 fantasy points, 40 fantasy points, 19, 38, and 29. These are good enough numbers for a guy who's going to be 2% owned on a 4-game slate. So I think Bagley as a sneaky play would maybe be okay here, even in a bad matchup, even whatever it is. Maybe you just buy into, hey, this Bagley thing is really, they're giving him a chance in Detroit, and if he plays well, he can get 40 fantasy points, and no one's going to play him tonight. So that's the only one I wanted to throw out there.
If you don't do that, might I interest you in some Kelly Olynyk revenge?
So that actually did cross my mind before, but I tried to get a little cute with it a couple times already with the Olynyk thing, or once because I was trying to just get cute. The other time is I bought into the to the back in Boston narrative, which did not go well. So they really seem to be committed to Stewart and Bagley as their main frontline guys. But you never know. Bagley could always pop out of there with nowhere from nowhere with like a monster game. And what you were saying about, to answer the Duncan Robinson thing, I do think Duncan Robinson is, like, all of these guys should always be looked at as potential plays. The problem is now you have Oladipo playing 16 minutes and they'd like to get him more. They just want to get him ramped up. He's going to take away a lot of these guys' run, and it's going to be hard for them to heat check themselves into the game when you're trying to force those minutes to Oladipo. You've got Hero, Lowry, Butler, Bam. How do they get on the court long enough? You know what I mean? Unless they really just get hot. But I guess for the 4-game slate, maybe Duncan Robinson is a good long shot play. Actually, I think he is. I just don't think you should be trying, like, you should have him at best 10%, in my opinion. That's my take. But
I'm not going to leave this Kelly Olynyk thing for just a minute. So,
okay, go ahead.
So again, first thing I'm looking at is, I can't even find like anything in his last 7, 8 games where he even has more than 20 fantasy points. But if you go one more game, you get a 40, right?
With no Bagley playing. Yeah.
I get it, right? And then a couple of 20s, and then you go a little further back. Yeah, you get a 45 in only 22 minutes. He's on a 4-game slate. There's another 40 in 28 minutes. Now again, you said with no Bagley, yeah, sure. So maybe
no Bagley or no Stewart.
Maybe Bagley gets into foul trouble. I don't know. Maybe he plays.
I agree with you for the. You know what? From a tournament perspective, that's good enough for me. I mean, like it's early in the day. We might have some other things, But I kind of agree with the what you're sort of putting down here. Like, we know that there is a ceiling for him even in limited minutes. The problem is the minutes are trending to be so limited. But you're right. What if Bagley and Stewart get into foul trouble?
Let him get hot. You know what? Let him not get hot. Let them throw him in for garbage time if they get blown out. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. The only problem is even with them, when they're even in their garbage time, they seem to be pretty committed to giving either Stewart or Bagley the run. Okay. But I actually like the conversation, because what you're saying is, look, this is not an optimal play. Okay, this is not going to work out most of the time. It probably won't work out if you did it 9 times out of 10. And even if it did, it usually probably barely gets there. But every now and then, 1 out of maybe 15, he puts up 35 fantasy points and you win a tournament. That's good enough, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. On a 4-gamer to get different, let's do it. Why not? Why not take a chance with that? I'll throw that into a lineup or two. Maybe not my big ones, but some like that. All right. What do you got on the Phoenix? I am just going to go out and say that I'm just going to play Devin Booker. I don't know if I'll have lineups without Devin Booker. I probably will, because I'll probably mix it up a little bit tonight. But I think Devin Booker is I think he's the best spend up. I think that he's being under projected as usual. I think you should project for 50 in these situations. I know he had a game where he didn't get to 50. Doesn't bother me. And I don't really have like a whole lot of, I think Ayton is fine. I think that on the Phoenix side, I think that all these guys are fine, but I just know that I want to play Devin Booker tonight. And I would like to see who's playing for sure for New Orleans. Hopefully we'll have that information earlier. But if McCollum, I think McCollum is, you could do that run back. You could play McCollum at 9,400. He's been reasonable enough for that price. But if he's out, it's going to open up everything else again, and just something to keep in mind. So I think my guess is he plays, because they need to win games right now to try and keep their playoff positioning, or to get in the playoffs, I should say.
Yeah, I'll stop you. He is playing.
Okay, he is. I've got him as questionable right now, but
yeah, this came out 30 minutes ago.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, he cleared protocols and will play.
Perfect. Okay. Because if there was anything, so McCollum and Booker, but Booker is my main play in this one, and I don't really have a ton of other interest in this game, but I'm probably going to change that by the evening, because it's a good game environment, and we don't have that many of those. It's Brooklyn, Orlando. I guess you could argue for that one being a good one. And I guess Memphis, Indiana too. So maybe I'm wrong about that, but I do like the game environment. I just don't like any of the other plays outside of Booker, maybe Ayton and McCollum. How about you?
Yeah. So why were all these? I'm trying to think of all these New Orleans guys that were values in the last couple of days. Oh, look, Devontae Graham at 6,800. Okay. Even the Trey Lindy, Triple Lindy's brother, Trey Murphy III, he's been priced up too, and all these Ingram guys out. just want to make sure they're not supposed to do this, even with McCollum back.
I don't think we are.
Okay. What about, who was really disappointed, at least disappointed me when I played him, is Valanciunas. Except his last game, obviously, which I didn't play him, I suppose. Yeah, there you go. There's the 55. There you have it.
It's in there. He's got it in there.
And
but
the
that
62. Well, how did I miss literally both the games where he smashed?
I know, and he puts up, and he had the monster one against Orlando right before
That's
that.
what I'm looking at. I mean, I missed both the games where he smashed.
I know, and it's just isn't that weird when you just have that with guys? And people always say about getting him right. It's just that sometimes it's with Joe Val especially, like 2 quick fouls, and all of a sudden it's a different.
Well, what about today?
I think it's a good tournament play. It's not like a great matchup, but at no ownership, I can get behind. I don't know why he's projecting. I mean, I don't know what is going on. I'm not going to say Sheets knows what I'm looking at. But I don't want to throw anybody to the bus. But I have no idea what's going on with these projections. Like his projection that I'm looking at is for him to have 32 fantasy points. Is that really what we're going to call Joe Val's median average? Like that's insanity.
Yeah. Overall, by the way, averaging them all in, it's like 36 fantasy points, which is
that's
at least
a little more reasonable.
Yeah, a little more reasonable. And 36 is with the one model, as you're saying, holding it down from its 32.
Yeah, so
it's gonna, you'll probably get 40. I mean, I would imagine.
Yeah. One guy, if we're gonna get sneaky, one other guy you could consider would be Jackson Hayes. No reason why this guy can't put up 35. Look, he just put up 35 fantasy points. So that was a little bit of a better matchup. But they're starting him, they're playing him. He gets in foul trouble sometimes. So what? You know what I mean? Let's take some shots with him. But I like the other guys better. And I guess this game is going to be about the slate is going to be about the first game for me after all that, even still. Like there's just no way I'm getting around it. My favorite plays on the slate overall, or what I'm going to be doing, I will play Tyus. I'll play 2 to 3 of the Memphis guys, unless I'm running back, in which case I'm open to 4. But I don't think with Memphis, the way they play, you're really asking for things to break your way. They're the deepest team in the league, in my opinion, outside of Golden State. And they have a lot of guys who are really good at basketball. So you might get a lot of guys who play well and not, just barely squeak out getting there because they have too many guys. The guys who are going to be hardest for me to fade are Tyus Jones. But I really like Bane and Adams too. I'm going to play some Brooks. But I want to play some from one of Triple J or D'Anthony Melton because the ownership is going to stay low on those two. And I think there's an outside chance this could end up really benefiting them without Ja there. I also think at the run backs, Hield or Brogdon, depending on who's playing, of course, and then we can get into the front line stuff if Batatse's out. Batatse's in, I don't mind taking a shot on him, even if at a low minutes projection. That guy puts up like 40 and sometimes it's the same thing we said about Kelly O, right? But he's 3,400. So, and I guess, Kelly O's pretty cheap. I also like RJ Hampton, Devin Booker, and Bam or Butler with McCollum as being my priorities to me.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add to that before we get out of here? And
yeah, I would say that, and I usually feel this way, that on these 4-game slates, if you could find stacks, it'll help you. Because I'm not as worried about, in other words, normally I wouldn't play like 3 guys from one team or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But when you have a 4-game slate, you can get away with it. So I wouldn't mind doing something in, say, the Miami game where I could play both Butler and Bam with Cade, for example. Mm-hmm. And the Phoenix game to play, I definitely think playing Booker and McCollum together makes just a shit ton of sense. That's it for me.
Yeah.
And I got this weird feeling. I think what we're supposed to do is play Kyrie for some reason. I can't imagine why. He's going to project 40 fantasy points, I guess, because he always does.
He can go nuts. Like this is a great matchup for him.
It is. That's what I'm trying. That's what I'm saying. I just I just feel as though this is Cole Anthony, Gray Anthony. I don't know. And I feel as though now that he's playing, he's kind of relegated to playing on the road. I don't know. Maybe this is a good thing for him to not play every game. Just whenever he comes out there, he knows to freaking just try to go off. I don't know.
No, I agree.
Except in Boston
it.
for some reason. Except in Boston for some reason.
You're asking for like just out of this world efficiency for
I
him
know.
because of his style of play. And I mean, you look at I put up 69 against Charlotte, and people were like, yeah, oh, and Bobby, and I even got a couple of those in the chat thing. Bobby said he wasn't a good play. Well, he was 15 for 19 from the floor and 9 of 12 from three. If that happened, things like that happening, there's nothing I can do about that. You know what I mean? Like I can't predict a 15 for 19 shooting performance, and I tend to not play him for that reason when he's going to have any ownership. But tonight the ownership should be subdued a little bit, and it's a 4-game slate, so I'm fine with it. I kind of agree with you. And by the way, when he puts up 69 tonight and he's 19 for 20 from the field, we can say I'll feel good about it. I'll still give Sheets all the credit.
You know, guys, the Discord channel is starting to get a lot more discussion about the slates and stuff. So like if you wanted, if you guys like have some time during the course of the day, you could go in there and just kind of start posting your thoughts. I know MSL has become, you know, a pretty decent sized contributor on many levels to DFS. He already like went up and took my sheets and put sample builds up into Discord for, you know, trying to stimulate some discussion of such. And you know, Rhodey is freaking basically a Discord legend nowadays for us, like just teaching and continuing to teach, and you know, offering his guidance wherever he can. So certainly been a lot more active than I have on there. So you know, try, you know, if you have time during the day, if you want to think about the slate, you know, you go to Discord and just you know, post around there too.
Yep, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, we will see you guys. I'll be around. I think Sheets is busy tonight.
Yeah,
but
I have dinner plans.
The plan is 5:45, and I don't want to change these things in general, guys. I want to try and stick to a regular one, but every now and then I might need a few minutes on either side. I have a lunch meeting I have to be at 1, so it should be fine. But just
what I might do, I might give you a little break if I can get it done in time. If I get projections up early enough or late enough, whatever, maybe I'll start it at 5:30. And then you could come in, because I really have to leave right at 5:45.
Okay.
Maybe I start at 5:30, give my overall slate preview, and then you can come in at 5:45 and answer questions or something. Maybe I'll do that.
Let's touch base on it a little bit later, because the only thing I'm worried about is being a few minutes late because of my my lunch.
Yeah, whenever you're ready, then you just
All right. Well, good luck to everybody tonight. And we can't make $1 million tonight, but we can again, all of these wins, they add up to $1 million at some point. So good luck, everybody.